Cool.
Do you want to?
I'll tee us up.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, welcome to another episode of the Crimson Way podcast. We finally did it, and we linked up with Nick. So,
Yep.
Everybody, tell us your name.
Nick Dorsing. I live over here in Eastern Oregon. Zach and I have been friends since about the beginning of time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Nick is definitely my longest-standing friend. So,
Yeah.
Good friend too. I drove over yesterday and figured that we would sit down and record some podcasts in person. We want to try to keep these in person as much as we can, just because I think it's better. But
Yeah, absolutely.
It just kind of makes everything simpler from an editing standpoint and just a video quality standpoint. So, what are we gonna do today?
A variety of things, but I think first thing was kind of tell my testimony, right? Kind of give them a little bit of an intro to me.
Yep.
Everybody kind of knows you, obviously, but like I said, Zach and I have been friends since about the beginning of time. I think since we were 5.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly, because we went to kindergarten together. We went to school together, but then we also went to church together ever since we were little kids. Our families have been friends since forever. So
kind of sense that we were just early in grade school. But how old are you?
I'll be 27 next week.
27 next week.
Yep, getting old and decrepit. Yeah, So it's been over 20 years. We've been.
Yeah. How long? When did you move over to the east side of the state?
I moved here in 2017, so 9 years ago.
9 years ago,
something like that.
Time flies.
Yeah. It was a big change, but definitely one for the better for me.
Yeah,
for sure.
What do you like about the east side versus the west side?
There's a lot of different things I like, but the big one is just opportunity when it comes to hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, there's endless opportunity over here for a guy that likes to spend time outdoors. I mean, you can, any time of the year, there's something to be doing, whether it's, deer hunting or picking up horns or bird hunting or whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's always something, which I guess that's kind of true to some extent on the west side as well. It's just different types of opportunity.
Yeah. For sure. You used to do a whole lot of waterfowl hunting, which is kind of one of the reasons that you ended up over here in the first place.
Yeah, that's a fact. Well, it's like we were talking about earlier. I don't do as much anymore. Definitely not have the time like I used to. But I think in 2021, me and the couple buddies that typically used to waterfowl hunt a lot with, I think we killed just shy of 1,300 birds between the three of us. So that was we were going to school and had nothing but time to go kill as many birds as we wanted to. But it's kind of changed for sure. I mean, interests have adapted, but
yeah, for sure. You married, single?
Married. Yep, been married. I got married to my wife Emma about a year and a half ago. We've got our first little one on the way. We've got a son that's due this summer.
Awesome.
So,
right on.
Cool. Yeah.
Very, very good.
Yep. Yeah. But I guess a little bit more about me and us, I suppose. Like I said, we've been friends since forever. We spent our childhood pretty much just running amok on your place, mostly in the neighboring properties.
Yep.
Couldn't keep us out of there from, just trying to hunt anything and everything.
Yeah.
Mostly rabbits and
birds
and nutria.
I was trying to think about, just like how much time we spent together, like as kids, like from basically 5 years old on up until really we got into middle school. But like there probably wasn't too many days that we were not together.
Yeah. Like I remember even as a kid thinking that I spent more time on your property with your family than I did with my own.
Yeah. Yeah. We were fortunate. I grew up kind of in the middle of the Willamette Valley. My parents had a farm, and it backed up to endless ryegrass fields. It was all ryegrass and ryegrass fields and ditch lines. So that's really from very early on. I mean, that is all we did was run around the fields and the brush lines and just hunted whatever we could. I mean, we we had just a great outdoor childhood. I mean, that's we put more effort into hunting rabbits than most people probably put into hunting elk these days.
Yeah, that's a fact.
It turned into an obsession very, very early on in our childhood, and that spark and that burning desire to just be outside was just ever present in our lives, and it's something that truly kind of shaped us into who we are now. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially having a kid on the way, I think often about, what kind of environment I want them to grow up in, and somehow being able to mimic some version of what we had, is super important to me.
For sure. Yeah. I think it's really critical, honestly. I mean, we were obviously very fortunate. Just the timing and how everything worked out. We were very lucky.
Yeah.
But no, I 100% agree. I think that's one thing that's always kind of at the forethought. Like I try to get my younger daughter, she's a little young yet, but my oldest, she's old enough now to where she kind of really comprehends stuff. And even the younger one, we try to get him outside as much as we can and just try to make it as fun as possible to do everything, whether it's even just like simple outdoor chores. Just try to make it as fun as possible and try to create that desire in them to stay outside, because it was instrumental in our upbringing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, anything that you can do. I remember enjoying cleaning stalls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As a kid, like just little things like that, I think most people don't enjoy to any extent, but for us, just being outside, being able to go,
it was just our life.
Yeah. Whatever it was. So
for sure.
Enjoyable for sure.
Yeah.
But I guess I wanted to kind of share a little bit of my personal testimony and just kind of life story to some extent, if you will. But specifically my relationship with the Lord and, kind of my walk in faith over the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of people that have a somewhat similar story to mine. So if it encourages one person, that would be cool for me. So
for sure.
A little bit about me. I grew up Christian. My parents were Christian. Most of my family was on both sides. We spent Sundays going to church with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
We spent time going through Bible studies and doing all sorts of different stuff as a kid. I remember even you and I when we were kids, doing Sunday school and memorizing scripture and memorizing books of the Bible and all that kind of stuff. So I felt like I definitely had a good foundation.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I've kind of realized that the older I've gotten though is that I don't think I ever actually had any real relationship with the Lord, especially when I was a kid, and as I began to get older, it was very much so just like something that I did because it was what my family did.
Yep.
Like as much as I hate to say it, to be honest, I don't think I ever really had a relationship with the Lord at that point in my life. I could recite scripture,
sure,
but there was
no intimate relationship, like no personal draw between you and God per se.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. I mean, I thought I had been saved and, I said the prayer and I did all the stuff you're supposed to do. But, a lot of that was at an age where I was not even old enough to really, truly comprehend what I was doing.
Sure.
So, I then continue to not necessarily pursue the Lord, but, go through the motions.
Yeah.
Up through middle school and into high school. And, I went to church camps and I spent time going to Bible studies and I spent time doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing. But once again, I don't think I ever really had a relationship with Christ in any way.
For sure.
I could see him at work in my life and everybody around me, but I don't think I ever comprehended any of that really. Sure. Later on, especially into high school, I felt like I kind of started to step away from the Lord. There was a lot of bad influences in my life, not people that were close to me, but just, people that I hung around with in school and in sports. And
people that became close to you through just
mm-hmm.
affiliation with
Mm-hmm.
with proximity.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I can actually, in my mind, I can kind of mark the day that I walked away from the Lord, at least in some capacity. I had a relationship with a girl. I was like 16, and she didn't, didn't have any relationship with Christ. Had really never been exposed to any of it. But I was always trying to get her right, and so I was always trying to mimic whatever she was doing, right?
Sure.
Whether it was drinking or smoking or whatever things you shouldn't be doing, especially at that age.
Yeah.
I mimicked, and her friends were that way as well, and a lot of the people in her friend group were, quote unquote popular guys that I played sports with and all that kind of stuff, and it was all about partying and just having fun, and in no way was the Lord a part of any of our lives. Not just them, but at that point, me as well.
Yep.
That was I think, looking back, I think that was a major turning point for me.
Yeah, it's kind of started like the downhill spiral, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, yeah, a lot of changes were made. None of them were for the better.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, people around me kind of tried to pull me out of that to some extent. Not so much friends, but family, my parents.
Yeah.
They would get me in trouble and ground me and, do whatever it was. I mean, they knew what was going on, and tried to pull me out of that. But, I was stuck in my ways and hard-headed, and
for sure.
And, I don't think they had a whole bunch of luck at first. I'm looking back, I'm sure it was incredibly frustrating for them, and, nerve-wracking, right? You start to see your son, go down a not so great road. I can't imagine that would have been easy on them or anybody.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
So, and I think during that time, I never quit believing in the Lord, but I quit pursuing Him in any capacity. I felt guilty all the time. Like I knew what I was doing was wrong, right? I knew I was being disobedient, but at the end of the day, I just continued to make the decision to pursue, the worldly things that I wanted to pursue instead of Christ.
Sure.
I remember actually telling my mom one day that the things that I had been doing made me feel guilty, and she said, "That's the Lord." And I was like, "No, it's just because I'm disobeying you." It never occurred to me until later that truly was,
sure,
the Lord trying to kind of kick me back the right direction. That was, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I completely ignored anything that the Lord wanted me to do. I completely ignored anything my parents wanted me to do. Wouldn't obey any of them.
Sure.
And when kind of confronted with that guilt, I just drank it away or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so that time lasted into college. And that when I was 18 was when I moved over here.
Yep.
And that kind of sent it even, I went from having some oversight, right? My parents and whoever else to, living in the dorms, going to school, doing whatever the heck it is you want to do.
Yeah.
And having really nobody to hold you accountable to any extent. And, at the time I would tell you I was having the time of my life.
Yeah.
Funnest years of my life. But at the end of it, it was all for nothing.
Sure.
All for nothing.
Sure.
Yeah. Well,
when you look back on it now, do you still view it as it was the funnest times of your life?
I still view it as, yes, I had a lot of fun, but I'm ashamed of the ways that I was having fun, right? It instills some kind, I feel guilty thinking about, those times.
For sure.
Chasing nothing but, alcohol and girls and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was fun, but I think the enemy makes that stuff fun for a reason.
Sure.
Right? It draws you in.
There's definitely a lure to it.
Yeah. That's a fact. Yeah. So anyway, well, but one of the things that I think is interesting about that is that I created a lot of relationships during that time, right? None of which was built on any kind of a godly background or
Sure.
any kind of real foundation. But he continues to use your sin for his own glory, right?
Right.
And some of those people in my life now, I have the opportunity to be some kind of a positive influence in their
For
life,
sure.
right? A lot of the guys that I was friends with in college and even high school, I work with some of them now. We run Bible studies together. We do all sorts of cool stuff that it is. I repeatedly think it is so cool that we can somehow, that God turned around all the sin that happened in that time and used it for His glory.
Sure. For sure. I know, at least like in my own life, because I have a similar story, and in my own life, like those relationships that I built, like at that point in time in my life, like by and large, I don't associate with most of those people now. But when I do run into them, like and the ones that I do, like you, for instance, like we still associated with each other all through this.
Yeah.
But like you start to notice, and I think people start to notice, like, that guy's not the way that he used to be. Like, there's something different about him now.
Yeah.
And I think that is a really, that can be like a powerful thing, because you are a natural born leader. Like, people follow you. And like what direction you lead them, because of that, like you used to be this way, but you're not that way in any capacity anymore. Like, that is 100% not who you are anymore. And people see that, right? And they take note of that, and they're like, maybe I ought to follow that dude, because what he's got now looks like a whole lot better than where he came from. And I like that. Like, I kind of want to follow that.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was somewhat encouraging. I had a guy the other day that I was friends with in college, and we were always out drinking, going to bars, and doing all that kind of stuff. That he approached a friend of mine a couple weeks ago and said he asked this buddy of mine. He said, "What happened to Nick? He used to be so much fun, but now I can't get him to go to the bars. I can't get him to do any of the things that I want to do, and it's clear to me that like something is different." And on one hand, I think that it's cool to see that there is a difference, right? But it's also interesting to me that he doesn't know.
Sure.
Right? Like the fact that he doesn't, he didn't come to that buddy of mine and say, Nick's going to church and Nick's doing all the thing, he's pursuing a relationship with the Lord, right? Instead of pursuing drinking, he just says, what the heck is wrong with that guy?
Yeah.
Well, and so, there's always improvements to be made for sure. But
when you compare your life now to your life back then, like, would you say that you're happier now?
Oh, yeah. It's not even close.
Would you say that you're like more financially stable?
100%.
You have a better relationship with your now wife?
Oh, yeah.
Is there any part of your life that is not massively improved?
No.
Yeah.
No, truly. I mean, I'm not just saying that either.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything that was better then.
No.
Do
you think you have more fun now than you did back then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in different ways, obviously. But yeah. Yeah, and then, it's if you weren't drinking or you weren't partying or you weren't doing whatever, you weren't having fun.
Having fun. Yeah.
Right? You were just, at least for myself, it was just, those times when I was sitting in the dorm or whatever, I was sad and depressed and not doing anything, just not having fun.
Yeah.
Now, there's a certain...
It was a very shallow lifestyle, at least for me. Like, it seemed fun, and it was fun while you're doing it, but there was no lasting joy or peace or anything that came from that. Like, it it was fun in the moment, but then like it was a very shallow pursuit. Like it was a hollow endeavor. There was just nothing in my own life. When I look back at it, like all those times that I was like, oh yeah, that was like a ton of fun. I look back at it now and I was like,
yeah,
what's the point? Like I didn't accomplish or do anything cool. Like I didn't.
No, not heck no.
It was just, when I look back at it now, I consider it wasted time, basically.
Yeah. And again, like he uses those times for his own good, to glorify his own name. But yeah, I mean, in my own personal life, there's nothing good that came out of that. And part of that was that unhappiness. Looking back, I was like consumed with guilt all the time, right? Like I mentioned before, I knew what I was doing wasn't right.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought about later as well was if I couldn't go home, if I couldn't go see my parents and be honest about what I've been doing and honest about my experiences and honest about who I'm spending time with, and just be willing to be completely honest about my life, something's wrong.
Sure.
I wasn't proud of anything.
Sure.
So
yeah. How did hunting kind of, like, at that point in time in your life, like what did hunting mean to you at that point in time in your life?
Hunting, I will say, hunting was still my priority over everything. Over God too, which was a problem, obviously. But it was the one thing that was like continually a driving force in my life, even to the point where on days where I wanted to go hunt the next morning, right? If I had opportunity to go deer hunting or duck hunting or pheasant hunting, whatever it was the next day, that was one of the only things that would keep me from not drinking, was so that I could feel good enough to go hike my butt off the next day or whatever it was. And that was a thing that in some ways in many, many ways kept me somewhat on the straight and narrow, right? Like kept me from going completely off my rocker. Which was fantastic. And also, especially in times when I was hunting by myself and was facing any kind of difficulty, whether it was physical difficulty or any kind of mental difficulty, was some of the only times I still felt the Lord's presence in my life.
Sure.
I mean, repeatedly.
Yeah.
I can think of a dozen different hunts that I was on, by myself or with you or wherever. And it was like, I finally had time to slow down, reflect on my life. And I felt like the Lord was kind of speaking to me in some ways.
For sure.
Not only that, but, I would actually go back to prayer, hey, Lord, give me a buck here, please. Whatever it was the one time that I felt like I wasn't in control, right? Sure. Like I had to give it to him and ask for some help.
Sure.
Right? I didn't feel like I had to ask for help for going to the bar.
Sure. For sure. Definitely. No, I would 100% agree, and yeah, even in my own life, like we'll get to that later, but it was hunting was the one constant in my own life that like kind of, at least in some way, grounded me. Like even when everything else around me was dark and pitch black, like there was always that glimmer of light revolving around hunting. And like I know you were no different. Back then, like I didn't have a family, like I didn't have kids, I didn't I had a job, but the job came secondary to like any outdoor activity. Like we did a lot of running around in the outdoors at that point in time in our lives, like a tremendous amount.
Yeah, if there was a positive that came out of any of that, it was I learned a lot in the woods.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. Spent a lot of time.
For sure.
Learning new places, learning new skills.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
hunting everything in season.
Yeah. It was cool in that aspect. And like I said, it was the one time when I would actually kind of take a step back and felt like I felt some kind of the Lord's presence.
Sure.
I didn't really feel that anywhere else, to be completely honest.
For sure. Let's see here. What do we got? Okay, so you're in college and you're kind of doing your thing. At what point in time did things begin to kind of change for you?
Like when the fun ended.
When the fun ended. What do you mean by when the fun ended?
Yeah, so kind of towards the end of college, I still had a couple of roommates who are still good friends of mine today.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a couple of roommates. I was having to work full time. I was going to school full
It's funny
time.
what happens when you get a job.
Yeah, no kidding. I was working before
Yeah.
then too, but not this to the same extent. But yeah, I was working full time. I was going to school full time, just trying to make ends meet and try to get out of school. And um, like I said, like the fun ended. I wasn't, going out and doing all sorts of crap I shouldn't have been doing during the week because I'd, get up at 4 o'clock and go to work.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't doing any of that stuff on the weekends anymore because it was the only time that I could go hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And so the hunting took priority over everything else.
Sure.
Which that was good. But it also, I should have been going to church on Sundays, but I was spending my time in the woods. But that was kind of the turning point.
Mm-hmm.
I also realized that the relationship that I was in, I was in a very, very long-term relationship. That came to an end, abrupt end that I, obviously was not a fan of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of felt lost, for lack of a better term. I was not having fun. I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have as many friends, right? At that point, towards the end of college, there was a lot of guys that were graduating. They were, moving back home, or, going to their new job or whatever it was. And so didn't have a girlfriend. My friend circle was dwindling, which, a lot of those people admittedly were not great influences on me as well. But at that point was kind of when I felt like I got to change some things. Because I went from having the time of my life to not having the time of my life.
Sure.
To being like, I need something that's actually fulfilling in my life other than hunting. And so I eventually kind of turned back to what I knew. And I think during that time, it was pretty clear to me that the Lord leveraged two things to bring me back to Him. I don't know if leverage is the right term, but
I think it is.
But, laid it on my heart, and they were hunting and girls.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I wanted a good relationship. I wanted a wife someday.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be successful in hunting and have a clear conscience while I was, spending 10 days in the woods by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, He just kept tugging on my heartstrings and slowly but surely bringing me back to Him. And
For sure.
He did it. I think, yeah, another thing was when I got out of college as well, I started a new job, and there were some positive influences there. I'll go into that a little bit more later too,
Sure.
but lots of positive influences there. Yeah, it was just a giant turning point. And I think that's a turning point for most people at that stage in their life to some extent.
How old were you?
I would have been 22 is when I graduated, but right towards the end, 21, 22, sometime around then was when I felt like I kind of started gaining some traction, going the right direction.
Sure.
I still had a lot of work to do. Still do. But
for sure.
But yeah, definitely was moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Let's see here. We want to make sure we don't forget anything.
Yeah, and at that point, one of the questions that continued to go through my mind was like, what truly matters? What's the purpose of all this? And I think that's kind of cliche, but it's true for a lot of people. Is you begin to question like, what's the purpose of life?
Yeah.
And I think I pretty quickly realized that like there wasn't a purpose other than pursuing the Lord and glorifying Him.
Mm-hmm.
Spreading the gospel and furthering His kingdom.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I didn't know how to do any of that.
Sure.
I was just like, well, I guess I got to start somewhere. Yeah. So at that time, I started pursuing Him more intently.
Yeah, that was kind of a pivotal time in both of our lives, because so we were inseparable until we got into like middle school, really, I guess. And like we still hunted together through high school a fair bit.
Yeah.
We did a lot of waterfowl hunting together.
We farmed and ranched
Yeah,
together in
we
high
did. We
school.
worked together, and we did still spend like a fair amount of time with each other. But then after you moved over here, and I was going to school and everything still back in the valley. We kind of grew apart and like didn't really talk a whole lot for
Yeah, not as much.
some years in there, like whatever 3 or 4 years in there. I mean, we would still talk, but not really like.
You called it my frat boy period.
Yeah.
You said we didn't talk during your frat boy period.
And it was right around like, it was kind of like right around that time where you and I kind of like rekindled our relationship a little bit, and we started like talking a little bit more, and me and my brother and one of our other friends, we made a couple trips over here bird hunting in the later in the winter, and through that like we just kind of picked up right where we left off to some degree. And you and I started having a lot more like a little bit deeper conversations about like we talked a little bit less about partying and girls, and we talked a little bit more about like real life stuff and like
exponentially more.
Yeah. And so like we really, our relationship, your and I relationship really started to get like a lot stronger and a lot more kind of focused on I guess like the important stuff, if you will.
Yeah.
And it like when I look at your life, right? Like and I look at the things that when I look at the things that really had like a drastic impact on you, one of the things that was like really one of the sticking points for you was girls.
Absolutely.
And because you had a desire to obviously like have a long-term like girlfriend, a wife. And but you were like you were having a hard time with it. Like every relationship that you got into, well, you weren't in too many relationships, but you were
go on dates and
yeah.
Yeah.
And you were just having like a really hard time, and you finally decided that like, okay, like I kind of need to give this to the Lord, right? And kind of explain that whole process, because you, at least in my own eyes, like you kind of felt like you were losing your opportunity. Like you kind of felt like your opportunity was dwindling. Like every girl that was like a good, godly, like church going girl was kind of like taken, falling off the radar, right?
Yep.
And you were having a very hard time. You were struggling with the fact that like you felt like you were running out of time.
Yeah, and especially living in a small community.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, everybody knows everybody, and so that can make things even more difficult, seemingly. But yeah, I mean, you're 110% correct, and I remember even telling you that, on multiple occasions, being like, I'm struggling with this, like, and it's not anything I've ever struggled with before. And I guess the only thing I really knew to do was pray about it. And at the time, I wasn't going to church. I wasn't doing anything. But I would pray about it. And I remember like a huge turning point when it came to that specific part of my life was while I was kind of praying and meditating on this, the Lord told me pretty clearly, you need to know me before you'll ever know your future wife. And that was kind of hard for me to hear, right? Because I knew that at that point I still wasn't like really pursuing him. I didn't know him, right? He didn't know me. Well, he did, but in the literal sense. And so that was like, oh man, I got to make some real changes before ever really having an opportunity to have a healthy relationship. So it was both encouraging to know that the Lord was at work in me somehow, or was working in my life somehow, but also I had some serious ground to make up. So, I mean, I started going to churches. Yeah, I went to, I don't know, probably 8 or 10 different churches. I tried all sorts of different churches. I didn't feel like any of them were where the Lord wanted me to be.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually I did find a church, and that kind of started something for sure. I still go there today. It was a small church. I was just going there by myself. I was the weird dude sitting there by himself every day, and was trying to find ways to get involved. I ended up, I would have meetings with the pastor. I was having really good conversation with other guys within the church. For the first time in my life, I felt like this is my church. This is where I need to be. The Lord wants me here. I was being able to be involved, as much as they needed.
Mm-hmm.
And and just kind of started putting my faith in the Lord. And, that was done in a variety of ways. Even things as simple as giving, tithing, giving your finances to God as well that was a big one for me, because at that point I cared more about money and everything that goes along with that than a lot of things. So,
sure.
But during that time there was definitely some progression.
Definitely
some progression, and I guess I'll jump forward a little bit, but after a couple years of that, I met my wife Emma in kind of a very uncommon way, at least in my mind. I started a an account on, what is it called? Upward. It's a name of it was a Christian dating app, and I had somebody that told me, hey, you should get an Upward account, and I thought it was the stupidest thing ever. I thought nobody actually meets on these things, and I started an account and whatever, and nothing really came of it for a long time, but maybe a year into it or so, I matched with this girl named Emma, and she lived in Eastern Washington, and I live in Eastern Oregon. We were several hours apart.
Yeah.
Well, we started talking on there for a few weeks, and then, she was really interesting to me. Really interesting. Shared all the same interests and values and all the things that I was looking for.
Uh-huh.
And I asked her to go on a date, and she said yes. So I drove up to Washington and went on a date with her, and it went very, very well. But I was, reluctant. Right?
Yeah.
I'd been on a lot of dates, and I was going, whatever. This is probably just another one. But it went super well. And so then after that, we went on another date the next week. Went on another date the week after that, and it wasn't long until I was like, holy smokes! Like,
you called me after, you told me, because I think what time of year did you guys start dating? March. Yeah, so I think I was over here shed hunting. I came over and we went shed hunting.
Yeah.
And you were telling me, you're like, hey, I'm gonna go on a date with this girl. I've been talking to her for a while, and she's like, she seems pretty legit, And I was like, all right, nice, And then a couple weeks go by, and you call me, and you're like, hey, this girl's pretty cool. This is pretty awesome. And you're like, things are going really good. And then it wasn't very long after that you call me and you're like, hey, I think I'm gonna marry this girl. And I was like, what? Wait,
whoa, you're moving a little quick here. It's funny because I remember the very minute that I knew that I was gonna marry her, and I was still unsure.
Uh-huh.
I'm not unsure, but very hesitant, right? And I remember driving about an hour to go on a date with her. And on this drive, I was praying on the way, and I said, Lord, if this is the girl, please continue to lead me towards her. If she's not, give me some kind of an answer, right? Show me in whatever way that, I need to end this short relationship before it goes any further. Well, during that date, I remember I had asked her what she wanted to name her kids someday. Don't know how that came up, but it did. And it's a little bit of a backstory. For whatever reason, ever since I was in high school, I've always wanted to have a son, and I always wanted to name him Titus.
Uh-huh.
I just thought it was a cool biblical name. But I never thought I would be able to get any woman on planet Earth to agree to naming some kid Titus, right? It's obviously a very uncommon name. And so anyway, Emma and I were at dinner, and I had asked her, "Oh, you want to have boys or girls? You know, if you could choose," and that whole type of thing. And she said, "I want to have 2 kids, but I would love to have a boy first. I think that would be very cool to, have a boy." And I said, "Okay, what do you want to name him?" She said, "You're gonna call me crazy, but I want to name him Titus." And I was, my jaw about hit the floor, and I was going, "What in the world?" But in my eyes, that was my kind of confirmation, right?
Sure,
that was
100%.
everything that I had been praying for,
Mm-hmm.
On the drive there was,
Mm-hmm.
give me some sort of confirmation, show me that this is the direction I need to be going. If this
Mm-hmm.
is within your will, lead me down that road. And I was like, that ain't a coincidence.
That's undeniable.
That ain't a coincidence. And so anyway, yeah, I mean, it was not long after that I was telling you, I'm going to go buy a ring.
I was like, dude, you hold up a minute. Like,
yeah. And I guess it sounds kind of silly, but my thought was, like, I know.
Yeah.
What's the point in waiting?
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, we to speed up a little bit, we started dating in March. We got married in September.
Yeah.
We a farmer that's a friend of mine. I asked him, "Hey, can we go get married in your alfalfa?" And he said, "Have at it, man." So we, you were there, one other buddy, our immediate families, and then Emma's best friend, and you drove us out. You drove us out there in the field in a side by side, and we had a little.
It was an awesome wedding.
Little wedding with 20
Talk about the
us.
buck that was the backdrop.
Oh man, that there was a buck there that I have always wanted to try to kill. That
it was a good
just
buck.
a really, really good buck, like a low 180s buck.
Yeah,
that
super, super, super heavy, just real boxy frame. Just
and
beautiful buck.
These big main beams that drop out the butt. Just a beautiful buck. And I had been watching him all summer.
Yep.
And we pulled into the field, and that buck was standing there, and I was going, "You have got to be kidding me!"
Yeah,
and it was during archery season.
It was, yeah. He was hard horned.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't have a tag that year. And
it was a good buck.
Man, I was. Don't tell Emma this. I was arguably more focused on the buck than I was on her for a little while. But yeah,
it was pretty funny. That was cool. That was awesome. But yeah, it was just the whole, like, just to see the way that everything like laid out. And I mean, you struggled with a relationship for a long time, but there was like a definite shift like that I could see when you really committed yourself to the Lord, and you actually like really started like going to church and like reading his word and really pursuing him. It was not long after that everything
there was still
came to fruition.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But there was still none of it felt sure to me.
Sure.
Right? I just felt like I was going through the motions, but I was like, "Come on, Lord, give me something here." And I actually remember there was a girl that I dated for a short time that like a few weeks, and I remember I was just trying to give it all to God and like just truly be wholly obedient.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that girl broke up with me because I wouldn't have sex with her.
Yeah.
And man, talk about that was hard for me because I was going, "Lord, I'm pursuing you. I'm doing all the things I need to be doing, and here I am, and my relationship with you and all the things that I believe and all the steps that I'm following and is what ended this relationship." And I remember that's the only time in my life I ever felt like mad at the Lord.
Sure.
Right. And I'm not proud to say that, obviously, but
that was a big deal. I mean, I remember when that happened, and you called me and you're like, "Dude, like this is." Yeah. Because up until that point, like you were pretty excited about this girl, like very excited. And then you called me one day and you're like, "You're not going to believe this."
Yeah.
And it was, but like I think that was a definite like turning point for you, right? Because you had to make a difficult choice and take a stand and prioritize the Lord. And it was not long after that all the puzzle pieces kind of fell in place, right?
Yeah, no, it was only, I don't know, 6 months after that Emma and I started dating.
Yeah. So I think that's really, for somebody out there listening that's kind of dealing with the same thing, be cognizant of that, I guess, like everybody
he's got a plan. He rewards us
sure.
for being obedient. I mean,
For
there's
sure.
no doubt. I mean, you see it in both of our lives in a number of different ways.
Yeah, for sure.
A number of different ways. Yeah.
100%.
Another thing that I kind of mentioned earlier that was a big impact in my life was work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, after I got out of college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I farmed before this. I fought fire. I was an EMT. You know, I did all sorts of different stuff, but I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I graduated with 2 degrees, you know, spent 4 years going to school, and during that time I couldn't figure out what the heck I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I decided I wanted to somehow get involved in agriculture again. I used to love, you know, farming growing up.
Yeah.
And so there was this job, or there was this company that is an irrigation company in our area that I kept trying to get a job there. Over and over and over and over again, and wasn't really making it anywhere. Well, I had a friend that worked there, and one day he called me and said, "Hey, do you want to come check out the shop? Come see our place?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And I didn't know this was an interview at all. Well, I show up, and there's 3 dudes ready to interview me, right? The owner of the company, the parts department manager, and then this sales guy who was a friend of mine. And I show up, and they sit down like a panel interview, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? So anyway, they ran me through like an hour and a half interview, and I got the job that I didn't even know I was showing up to interview for. And I was like, well, I guess, you know, at that point, I wasn't working. I had got through the fire season, you know, fighting wildland fire. Got through the season, wasn't doing anything. I was like, yeah, I guess I'll take the job, whatever. And, you know, it became clear pretty quickly that was where I was supposed to be. And, you know, the owner, his name's Jed. One of the things that Jed asked me about was, what are the priorities in your life? And, you know, I gave him, you know, I told him, well, I like hunting, but, you know, ultimately family, and, you know, or family, but then ultimately the Lord. And he said, you'll fit in here all right. And he said, our 3 priorities from top to bottom are faith, family, and then work, right? Those 2 things always come before work. And it was incredible to me that there was actually, you know, a large business that had that kind of mentality, and that was trying to build a culture around that.
Sure.
That was not, at least in our area, that's not common.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really common anywhere, most likely.
Not particularly.
But Jed continued to, you know, be a leader to me, and continued to mentor me in ways that I didn't know I needed.
Sure. He had a big impact on your life.
Big impact. Yeah, still does.
Yeah.
I've been there, you know, almost 5 years now. But yeah, was a fantastic influence, and still is. One of the things that I didn't know I needed was somebody that was like really calling me out on my crap.
Sure.
You know, somebody that was very convicting, was not afraid to say what the heck he thought.
Yeah.
And I don't think all people are that way. I don't think all people need that. You know, some people would run from that, but I needed it.
Sure.
And he was, definitely kind of started setting me on the straight and narrow, and would call me out when I was doing stuff I shouldn't be doing, and you know, continues to do that.
Sure.
He's got less things to call me out on now,
sure.
but he still does. He still does. Yeah. And I didn't realize, you know, I was young. I still am, but I was young and didn't realize, you know, the impact that a good leader and mentor could have in people's lives. And, you know, like I said, I'm still young, but I try to use that as an opportunity now to be able to lead and impact other people.
For sure. You've had a profound impact on the people that you work with.
I would like to think so. You know,
sure.
I'm trying. It's been a really cool year, this year in particular. Well, I mean, we're 5 days into the new year, whatever. But 2025 was a cool year for sure. You know, we started a group Bible study for men, and we started meeting at our house. A number of us. There's not a whole pile of us, but there's a good handful, and there's been some fantastic experiences, and I've seen some crazy transformations in people that I never ever thought would ever even be willing to show up to something like this, let alone turn their lives around on a 180.
Yeah.
It's been incredible for me.
I remember you called me, you're like, I can't believe this dude's in my house. Like, this is, but his life is totally transformed.
Absolutely. He texted me an hour ago and asked me to pray for him and his family for a certain, issue that they're having. I would have 2 years ago would have never ever guessed that something like that would ever happen. So it's been really cool. And it's gone further than that too. All of our wives, the men that have been coming to this, our wives have. I mean, they've got a group together. They're doing their own thing. It's been really really cool. So, anyway, to be able to find a place where you can make some kind of an impact for anybody that's in a position where you can do that, take the opportunity. Don't downplay the role that you have in people's lives.
For sure.
It just takes one little conversation, one text. It's an invite to a Bible study, whatever it is.
100%.
It's
don't be afraid to step out in faith and.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've done. I mean, it's not like this is just me. You've been an incredible influence in people's lives. All the people that you've been able to impact in some way and bring to the Lord and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I mean, I see it in everybody around you, myself included. And, a lot of this would have never happened if it wasn't for a lot of a lot of the conversations that you and I were having.
For sure.
And, 6-8 years ago.
For sure.
5-6 years ago, whatever the number is.
Yeah.
We've
kind of walked this together.
Mm-hmm. And finally, for me at least, I felt like I finally had somebody to turn to be able to talk about these things.
100%, me as well.
I felt like I couldn't be completely open and honest with anybody but you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's kind of what's cool. Like, that's one of my favorite parts about this podcast. And when this was like laid on my heart, I was like, immediately you popped into my head, and I was like, you
called me the day of.
We are going to do together. Like, this is because it's always been like you and me, like through our journey in life. Like, it started right out of the gate, and it's pretty well progressed like up to this point, right? And so when I kind of, and we'll kind of unpack the whole situation, but yeah, I mean, there was never any debate like whether or not, like as soon as I knew that it was placed on my heart, I was like, okay, we're gonna call Nick and we're gonna get this motion underway. And it's just it's been incredible to watch the transformation that's taken place in your life over the last like 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah, same for
I mean,
you.
it really is. It really is incredible, and every year it gets better. Like 2025 was a fantastic year for both of us, just as far as like our own personal growth and just breakthroughs that we had, and it was really a testament to just like pursuing the things that really matter, like getting your priorities straight and prioritizing the Lord first and foremost.
Yeah.
And everything else kind of falls in place after that. Like it's not always sunshine and rainbows, but
nope.
Certainly things just work better when you're operating with the Lord versus against the Lord.
Yeah, absolutely. And the things that don't go well, like you know
why they're not going well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And even then, though, the stuff that's out of your control, at least you have a toolkit. Right, you have a way to combat these things.
Sure,
it's absolutely.
Sure,
yeah. But I guess to continue on it. So, I mentioned the role that hunting has played in both of our lives. But I wanted to mention a couple stories in the last few years that have been impactful to me, and there's been too many to count.
Yeah, I wish we could share them all because it was. You and I have experienced a whole lot of good times in the woods together.
Yeah.
And not just, we click very good together. Like you can't hunt with everybody. Like there's very, very few people. There's there's about 2 people that I really can hunt with.
Yeah.
And you and I have always hunted very well together. Like we complement each other and we push each other, and we have had some phenomenal experiences in the woods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with a couple of other friends as well. And we'll try to get some of those guys on, and
For sure.
They can tell some of their own stories, right? I don't want to steal their thunder. But a couple things that were impactful to me. One was a mule deer hunt that you and I went on in 2022, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
2022 in Idaho. And I had drawn this tag, or I bought a tag.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great tag by any stretch of the imagination, but had a tag in my pocket. And I remember I called you and asked, "Hey man, you want to come to Idaho with me?"
Yeah, you're like, I got nobody to go with me.
Right.
I don't know. You want to come?
Yeah, and most of those hunts, like I do by myself. I did them by myself this year too. But being able to have you along I thought would be spectacular, and it was. And for me, it's a 6-hour drive or whatever. For you, it's like a 10 and 12, 13-hour drive, whatever it was. I remember you saying, "Heck yeah, man, I got nothing to do. I'll come on over." So you bombed over here to me, and then we left the next morning.
And that was the first like out of state hunt that we had.
Yeah.
That was the first one that we'd ever gone on.
Yeah.
That was the first time that I had been hunting out of state.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I've done waterfowl stuff, but big game.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, we were pretty gung ho about it. Like I said, not a great tag. Hadn't had any time to do any scouting. For sure. We were not set up for success.
No,
right? We had not put in the work we needed to do.
And this was kind of like in a point in time too, where we were really. This was a period in our lives where we were both experiencing like tremendous growth in just like our relationships with the Lord, but also just like trying to get our lives like straightened out and figured out.
Yeah.
And it was like out of the gate, like you remember the moose? We're like driving through. Yeah. We're driving through the desert, basically, like the sagebrush. Nook looks out the window, and he's like, "Dude, there's a moose." And we're like, "What?"
Yeah, we knew we weren't in any country we'd been in. No, because we've got a few moose over here.
Yeah,
but nothing.
We stopped on the side of the road, and we're all like staring at this moose, and it was a pretty good bull.
Yeah, knowing what we know now.
Yeah, it was like a really good bull, and it was just sitting out there, just chilling.
Yep.
In the sagebrush.
Yep.
Didn't know that they made moose in sagebrush, but they do.
Turns out they make lots of them. They make lots of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was kind of the beginning of our trip, and we went in and went to an area. A friend of mine lived a couple hours from there, and, sort of kind of knew the area.
Yep.
And he sent us to an area that he said, "Well, we've killed deer in there before. Go for it."
Yep.
And so we went in there and just started putting boots on the ground.
Yeah.
I think we got there the day
before it started, maybe.
No, because there was a guy that was coming out.
Oh, yeah, you're right, with that buck.
Yeah,
but the biggest buck that we have seen in the unit to this day
was in the back of that pickup. Yeah. But we got in there and started doing a whole bunch of glass and a whole bunch of hiking. Just getting to every high point we could find and do as much glassing as we could. And we were finding a lot of deer.
Yeah,
but we weren't finding any good bucks. Really any bucks at all. We some spikes and 2 points and whatnot, but we weren't finding much of anything.
No.
And we grinded, man. We were there for 5 or 6 days or whatever it was, but we kept grinding it out, doing a couple thousand feet a day, a whole pile of miles, and weren't having any success. But I will say we were having a blast the whole time. Oh, we were having the time of our lives.
It was an incredible experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was the first time that, at least that I can remember, during that time of our lives when we were really kind of making some changes, that we spent a long time together without anybody else there.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I still didn't feel, as much as I hate to say it, I didn't feel comfortable talking about most of these things with most people.
Sure.
Right? It was like, oh, I got to call Zach. And so this was a transformational week for me.
Yeah.
To be able to, really reflect and be able to think and talk about all the things that we did for Lord knows how many hours.
Yeah.
Was a fantastic experience for me.
For sure. And we were working hard. Like we thought we were in some kind of physical shape.
Yeah, no, we weren't.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all. It was.
I mean, we'd done a lot of killing up to that point, but never in. We spent a lot of time in big country up to that point, but nothing like that.
No, definitely nothing like that. That was really like one of the things that like struck out to me too, is like in that adventure, like the hard work, like physical aspect of it was, we were in that moment, like we were just thriving on that.
Yeah.
Like that was a big part of the whole experience.
Yeah.
And it almost like made like all the conversations and stuff that we were having like that much more special, because like we would hike to the top of a ridge and we're, legs are burning, we're sucking wind, and then like we have an impactful, like a meaningful conversation, and you're up there just
go climb 2,000 feet
underneath,
and go,
underneath, just out there with each other and the Lord, and that was it. You know?
And we were having a spectacular time. I think we spent 3 days ish in that first area.
I think so.
Yeah, and boy, I tell you, if we had elk tags,
oh boy, we'd have been in the chips.
Yeah, nice we would have been winning her big. Yeah, but we were seeing a lot of nice bulls. And the first couple of days, we didn't see a lot of hunters. We were pretty much had the place to ourselves. Like I said, we were finding a lot of deer, but nothing we wanted to shoot, and a lot of elk. But then, kind of that third or fourth day, somewhere right in there, the people really started showing up.
Yeah, they did. I think it was getting towards the weekend, and pretty
soon our area got blown up. Yeah. Which it was a good thing, because it made us go, find somewhere else. And so I don't know, that area we hunted was maybe, I don't know, 6 or 8 square mile area.
Yeah, it was like it was like 2 big drainages, I guess, is what it
big drainage, a couple miles long each. But yeah, so anyway, after that, and at that point we were hunting from the truck. Yeah. Right. We were driving to a spot, hiking in, doing that whole thing. Well, we thought we gotta just find somewhere else and get into some area that people aren't gonna want to get into. And we had actually seen, I'm trying to remember how many bucks we saw.
There was quite a few. There was a pretty good herd of them.
Yeah, there was a pretty good number of bucks in like a big bachelor group that we actually saw in our unit. Yep. Cross into another unit, but they were a few miles from us in a several thousand foot, climb.
Many thousand foot. They were way up high.
Yeah,
way up
like
high.
4,000 feet higher than we were, which was kind of eye opening. Yeah. Realizing, we're not in the right spot. No. And so anyway, we decided to backpack into that area. We had all of our backpacking stuff with us, thankfully, but so we went and loaded up our packs, after a morning hunt.
Yeah, looking back now, it was one of the stupidest journeys that I think we've ever done. Like, just from we look at a map, and I mean, it was like a knife-backed ridge. And for whatever reason, we decided that like it was going to be a good idea to go up there and try to find some place to camp.
Yeah, we were trying to camp on the side of a cliff. It was stupid. I mean, it took us
There's not a flat spot.
No, it took us half the day to get up there, and then we finally got up there and went, "What the heck? Where are we going to camp?" And we found, I mean, as flat a spot as we could find, and it was nothing but rocks and thorns,
and not as big as our tent.
Yeah. I mean, but we set that thing up. We had the sides of our tent hanging off the rocks. And
we couldn't get a stake in the ground, and it's one of them tents that requires you to like pound the stakes in, is like to like kind of hold the ridgepole up and everything, or the posts. Yeah. And so we ended up just finding like big rocks and tying off to these big rocks and like pulling them out so that the tent would stay up, basically.
Yeah. And
we got the tent all set up, and then we walked out kind of to the end of the ridge.
Yep. And there were 2 dudes sitting there. We were going, "You have got to be kidding me."
Yeah.
And we went over to talk to them and just to go say hi. Well, they turned out to both be super nice guys. Yeah.
They looked about as deflated as we did.
Yeah. They came in a much better route than we did.
They did. But I mean, they were as bummed to see us as we were to see them. It was, you could see it in their faces.
Yep. So we went to go talk to them, and like I said, both super nice guys, and turns out they were both elk hunting. Yeah. And we were deer hunting.
They said, "Do you guys have elk tags?" And we're like, "No." "Do you guys have deer tags?" And they're like, "No."
Well, they had deer tags,
them, I guess.
But they weren't.
They were residents.
Yeah, but they said they had no interest in doing any deer hunting. They were just trying to kill elk.
Yeah.
So we said, "Well, heck yeah, sounds good." And so they actually told us about a bachelor group of bucks that they had seen that morning.
Yeah.
And so we went glassing for them. We never could find them.
Not that night,
at least. And then And they said, well, if you guys find any elk, let us know. And we said, yeah, absolutely. And so I remember actually right after we talked to him, we walked 200 or 300 yards down the ridge and set up and start glassing. And all of a sudden, I mean, it's nothing but desert for the most part.
Yep.
Down low, where we were camped. And there was this little aspen pocket, and we were sitting there glassing into some of this stuff.
Like the type of aspen pocket that like you wouldn't think an elk could hide in it.
Yeah, exactly. And we're sitting there looking for deer, and all of a sudden, this really, really nice bull, like a 300-ish bull, comes out of this aspen pocket, and we, crawl back over the ridge, go find these guys, and say, "Hey, there's a bull right here."
A bull right here, yeah.
And we had asked them before that what kind of caliber of bull they were looking for, and they said, "Oh, I'd like to shoot a 300 bull,
Yeah.
And I was like, it seems like a bull these guys would be interested in. So we went and grabbed him and brought him back over, and this bull was only like 350 yards from us. And, and they sat there and looked at this thing and went, oh, heck yeah, we'll shoot that thing.
Yep.
But that was the night before elk season.
Yeah.
Elk season was starting the next morning. So anyway, we went our separate ways. Well, so then we went back.
They had a better camping spot than we did.
Much better. Yeah, they actually weren't sleeping on a rock. Yeah.
Yep.
But we went back to camp that night, and where they had described these bucks to be were actually visible from our camp.
Yeah, like right across the canyon from it.
Yeah, it was a little ways, 600 or 800 yards, but I mean, definitely within eyesight. And so we were really, really careful about, I don't even think we were using headlamps.
No.
I mean, we had some red lights, and we were really trying to be as sneaky as we could.
Yeah.
And anyway, we got a little bit of sleep that night, not a whole lot. And, we were just out there exposed in the wind and the rain and everything. Oh, actually, I don't think it rained that night, but it was windy.
It was pretty windy.
Yeah. So anyway,
it's a two-man tent, but
we were all snuggled up. Yeah, we got real familiar with each other real quick. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we were sharing some body heat, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But we got up the next morning and couldn't find these bucks to save our lives. And then you found them.
I picked them out.
You found them, and they were like one drainage over from where we thought they were going to be. But man, they were just up in the cliffs in the shale.
Yeah.
In a spot that from first glance you wouldn't think to find these deer. And there were 5 or 6 bucks in the group and a couple does, if I remember correctly. But there was 2 4-points in the group, none of which were very big. But after our several days of like not finding a buck bigger than this, we were like, heck yeah, I'll go shoot one of those.
For sure. We were stoked.
So you stayed up on the ridge, and
there was like 2 trees on this whole hillside.
And they bedded under those trees.
They bedded in the shade of these 2 trees. Yes. And they didn't bed till like really late. Like it was
super
like
late.
10 o'clock in the morning before I think they quit moving.
Yeah, it's kind of odd.
Yeah.
But anyway, you stayed on the ridge. I dropped, I don't know, 1,000, 1,500 feet, something like that.
I think it's 1,500. It was a pretty good pull.
Yeah. I dropped, 1,500 feet down this ridge, and then kind of started climbing up this other ridge. And I got to a point where I remember this, they were 575 yards. And I laid down on them and was hoping to try to get a shot, but the wind was ripping and it was swirling so bad, and I just never felt like I could get a good wind call.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel comfortable taking it. So I don't know.
They were kind of in a good spot too, because there was kind of like a rocky, the overall ridge system is running like towards the south, and then there's basically like a couple smaller, there's all these little kind of like fingers that are coming off of that.
Yep.
And these fingers, like on the tops of each one of these fingers, there's almost like a rock rim that kind of runs down the top of each one of these things.
Yep.
And so those bucks had bedded on it would be like a south facing hillside underneath those trees, and the next ridge over, like the top of the rim was like kind of in like a perfect spot to where you could sneak up the backside of it and then pop right over, and you would have like a good line of sight to these bucks. Yeah,
it was really, really, really steep though.
Super steep.
Everything was just nothing but shale.
Yeah.
And so I decided to go put a sneak on. I'm trying to get in there closer. And Zach's right, there was a good spot to shoot from. But the problem was that, like I said, it's all shale. I mean, a guy can't be quiet in there no matter how hard you try, it seemed like.
Yeah.
and I wasn't sure I was going to be shooting so steep down on them. I didn't know if I would be able to get a good angle. But well, heck, I'll give it a try. Yep. So it took me a long time to get up there, a couple hours.
Like, you gotta keep moving, like hurry up,
yeah,
get up there.
Yeah, I was trying to be quiet and trying to keep the wind right and all, all the things. But anyway, I ended up making it up there, and sure enough, I was like right on top of them.
Yeah,
they were on the opposite ridge from me, but it was so steep up.
It was it was pretty good.
I was shooting, more than a 45-degree angle down.
Yeah,
but it wasn't a far shot at all. I think they were only 115 yards or something like that.
Yeah, they were pretty close.
But I got laid down in the shale and was able to sneak around over the rocks, and anyway, I picked out the biggest of the group and killed him.
Boom.
And I remember he was facing towards me.
Yeah.
Bedded, and I actually shot him right through the bottom of the chin, right through the front of his chest, and the bullet came out his butt.
Yeah, but it smoked him.
Yeah, and
hit him hard.
And here I was trying to be all sneaky and everything. I shoot this buck. I didn't have a suppressor or anything on at the time. I shoot this buck, and none of the deer even lifted their heads up.
No, they didn't get up.
Gracious, I could have just walked up here and shot this thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, and so, like I said, it was a 4-point, not a big buck at all.
No.
But we were on cloud nine. I mean, the experience we had, and
the whole trip was it truly, like, legitimately, like that was one of the turning points, like, in my hunting career, as far as that trip completely changed my entire perspective on, like, what hunting should be.
Yeah.
Like, it's more than just the kill, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and my dad is very much that way, right? Like, my dad could almost care less if he kills something. It seems like he's never told me that, but he cares more about the experience, more about the hard work aspect of it than anything. And as a kid, I never really understood that.
No,
right? But
100% about the kill. And don't get us wrong, it is still about the kill.
Yeah, There's still a big, but there's more to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, and we had been on some really hard hunts to that point. I mean, a few years prior to that, I had killed a bull that I hunted. You
had been on some hard hunts. That was the first hard hunt for me that I had been on in a long time.
I guess. Yeah, but you had done some pretty cool stuff, especially in
for sure
elk hunting. But
for sure, up until that point, my entire focus was on, like, how can we kill the biggest animal possible with the least amount of work possible. Mm-hmm. Like, that was when I was back home. Like, that was our MO. Like, that was what was important to us. And this hunt was completely, like, 100% opposite of that. And it changed my entire perspective on what hunting should be.
Yeah. For me too. And like I said, we had been on some tough hunts and whatnot till then, but I think, growing up in a little bit, we had done a lot of killing up to that point too, but it was eye-opening to me. I pretty quickly went, oh man, the thing that made this hunt so special was a couple of things. One was the camaraderie that we had, right? All the super cool conversations we had, and how transformational of a hunt it was for both of us. But it was also the experience, right? The hard work, the crazy places we had been to, sleeping in the cliffs and all sorts of crazy
views
stuff.
Were spectacular. Like, it was. The whole trip was just incredible.
Yeah, and then just being able to kill something was a cherry on top.
For sure.
Anyway, we drug that buck out of the shale and got him into somewhere. Actually, no, that's not true. We quartered him out right there in the rocks.
We cut him up right there.
Yeah, and then we had a 3-mile hike out of there.
That's when I learned the value of a good pack.
Yeah, you were having some serious pack problems that day. Oh man,
it was
But we both had camp. Yeah, camp and half a deer,
and half the deer. So it wasn't like a crazy heavy pack, but it was reasonably heavy. Except I had all the meat strapped to the back of I borrowed my dad's Kuyu pack, and I had all the meat strapped to the back of this pack, and I was like, it was very awkward. Like, I was just very out of balance. And it was very steep and very rocky, and we were having, like, a hard time. And, like, I didn't have trekking poles. You
were wearing jeans.
I was wearing jeans
And
I might have been wearing cowboy boots.
I think you were wearing cowboy boots.
I think I was, honestly.
Yeah.
I know I was wearing cowboy boots, like jeans and cowboy boots.
I remember
we were miles deep, thousands of vertical feet.
Yeah, I remember repeatedly saying, "How are your ankles not shredded right now?"
Well, and
you're walking through shale slides and all sorts of crazy side hill crap.
There was a trail in the bottom of that canyon, and we were like halfway down that trail, and like most of the time, like I can hike like reasonably good, and I was dying. I was dying, and you are just like trucking along like no big deal, and I was like, what? Like, why
is this guy doing?
Why am I struggling so bad?
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, it's your pack. I'm like, why is it my pack? I was like, it can't be my pack. You're like, here, put my pack on. And I put your pack on, and it had just as much weight as mine, but it literally felt like half the weight. I was like, oh, like, this is nice. And you walked about 10 yards, and you're like, yeah, give me my pack back.
I wasn't going to keep doing that.
And you had your trekking poles, and like, you were set up. I was not. I immediately went home and ordered a new pack and a set of trekking poles.
And boots.
And boots. Yeah, and boots. Yeah, that's true. I had forgotten about that. Yeah, it was definitely transformational for me.
Me too. Yeah. But I don't know though. I think that kind of speaks to you though, being out there doing everything you were doing in cowboy boots.
Well, that's always what I'd done. Like that was just that's what I had done up until then. Yeah. But like I said, like everything that I had done, like we had done like hard stuff, but it was only for like a couple miles at a time, or you know, like it wasn't really. Even if you're dropping a couple thousand feet into a hole, like you're just doing it one time, most of the time, you know, like for us, like it was, but we hunted like up until that point, you know, we hunted a whole lot of private, and a whole lot of like the coast is just covered in roads, you know, so like, it's not that physically demanding, not like what we experienced on that trip.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an incredible trip. Yeah. I think we came home and made it home for the opener of duck season, and then woke up the next morning and went and absolutely pounded the ducks. Wasn't that when we hunted the little pond?
Yes.
And we absolutely crushed them the next morning.
Yes, we did. Yeah, because when we packed that buck out that afternoon.
Yeah.
We got back to the truck at 3:00 in the afternoon, 4:00, something like that. We drove home that night. Got back about 10 or so.
Late, yeah.
You know. Hung that buck up and went to bed and went and killed some birds.
Yeah, that was just a cool. That was just an awesome. Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, that was that was an awesome experience.
Yeah. Another one was our bear hunt. Boy, what year would that have been?
I think it was 23. I was thinking. I
think you are correct. Yes. Yeah. It was the year after.
Yeah,
we did the deer deal. So yeah,
because the cougar, I duked it out with the cougar in 22.
Yep,
and it was the next year that we duked it out with the bear.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah, so it was kind of a long story, kind of a long hunt, but we drew bear tags, the two of us and one of our other buddies, and we. Gosh, I'm trying to remember how that went down. Anyway, you and I showed up first.
Yeah, we had I think he was there for a couple days in the beginning too.
Oh, yes, actually, you are correct. Yeah, he was there for a day or two.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think we had 10 days to hunt.
Yeah, it was a good long trip.
Yeah, and we all showed up and we did some hunting. Well, I don't believe we killed anything when he was there. And we saw a bear. Actually, we did shoot one bear.
True.
Yeah, that was kind of a little bit of a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
It was a nice bear.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. I shot it.
Yeah.
And
hit it low.
Hit it low. Yeah, like right through the brisket.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember after the fact, we looked back at the dope chart because it was like 550 yards or something like that. We had missed the dope by like 1 minute.
Yeah.
Like one MOA. And we were going, oh, no wonder we hit this thing low. Yeah. And all three of us, I remember when I shot, I watched the impact through the scope.
Well, it was a problem. It was the rangefinder.
Yeah.
Because the rangefinder, and this is something like for anybody listening that has a ballistic rangefinder, this is you have to be careful of this. We had the rangefinder sitting on, our buddy had thrown it up on the dash of the rig, and it was kind of cold. Like it was kind of cold outside, so we had the heater going. Well, that rangefinder was up there just cooking in the dash, and it was hot, you know?
Yeah.
And we actually weren't even hunting. We showed up to shoot our rifles because we were just going to like check zeros and everything.
Yeah.
We pulled up to this landing, and I mean, like, no sooner did we get out of the rig that I can't remember who spotted it.
I was sitting there looking at, all of a sudden the hillside I was looking at, a bear walked out right in the middle of it.
Yeah. And it wasn't very far away. It was just kind of like down, well, like you said, it was like 500 yards. So it was a ways. I think it was actually in the 4s.
No, it was 570.
Okay.
570.
Okay.
I remember I replayed it 100 times in my head. But yeah, anyway, so I jumped on the gun. He gave me a range and a dope.
Yeah, but that rangefinder was hot.
Yeah.
And so it didn't adjust, like, because it, like, right, it factors in like the temperature and the
pressure,
everything.
Yeah.
Well, he just pulled it right out of the rig and got a range, and you were shooting his gun.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
the rangefinder was,
he just handed me his gun and said,
shoot
that sucker.
Yeah. So. And it was the fact that the temperature was so vastly different, right? Because it was like 30 degrees outside, and the rangefinder sitting on the dash was 100 degrees. You know, I mean, it was.
Yeah. So he gave me he told me what to dial up to. I dialed, I shot. Yeah. Right. I watched the impact through the scope, and I thought I hit him low. Both of you said, "I'm pretty sure you hit him low." We went over there and looked for
we tracked him for a long time,
a whole day, and found good blood, and we tracked him for forever, never did
caught back up. Finally, he turned uphill eventually, and it plugged up, and that was that.
And then we went back after the fact, and ranged it again, and it was I believe it was 1 minute difference.
Yeah.
Then after the rangefinder had acclimated.
Yeah.
So learning experience for us. Don't do that again.
For sure.
But anyway, that was, I think, the only real opportunity that we had the first couple
days. Yeah.
Yeah.
First weekend.
So then he left, and then it was you and I.
Yeah.
And you had your muzzleloader.
Yeah, I really decided that I wanted to shoot a bear with the muzzleloader.
You had a muzzleloader, and I had a brand new rifle.
Yep.
That I literally sighted it in like a couple days before that.
Yep.
And so anyway, I remember the day after he left, you and I, we hiked up that canyon.
Yeah.
And we were hoping to get to this area to go call.
Yeah.
And we were sneaking our way up the draw. Everything was looking real good. And we got right to where we wanted to call from. And all of a sudden, look up the hill, and there's a bear running towards us. Like, well, not full-blown running, but like trotting down the hill. A really, really nice cinnamon bear.
Big cinnamon bear. Yeah, I was in front of you, and there was like timber. It was this draw, and there was timber on one side, and then like half the draw was timber on our side, and then it broke out into this big meadow.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of the only pocket of timber in like kind of like a big burned off area. So it looked promising for sure. And I was walking in front of you, and there was like this one last like kind of ravine before it busted out into the meadow. And it was like 60 yards. We were about like 60 or 70 yards from the edge of the meadow.
Yeah.
This is the first time that I'd ever hunted with a muzzleloader.
Mm-hmm.
And I look up, and just coming down the very edge of the tree line is this like really nice chocolate or cinnamon bear. And I turned to you. I was like, dude, there's a bear right there.
Like running towards us dang near.
So I dropped to my knee, and
we both did.
Yeah. This thing stops like perfectly in a shooting lane, like right across from us, perfect broadside. And I dropped the hammer on the muzzleloader, and it kind of goes, puh. But like it shot, but it was like it felt like not a full charge shot. And like looking back at it now, I soaked my patch in oil before I loaded my gun, and it was like pretty hot outside. And I think that oil actually leaked into the powder and like contaminated must have been a pretty good chunk of my charge. And it went off, and I hit the bear. It was obvious that I hit the bear. It took off running, and I was like, shoot it again.
Yep.
Shoot it again.
Yep.
And
as it was
I think you did.
Yeah, I hit it, but I hit it back.
Yeah.
And I was just trying, we both could tell the first shot wasn't good. And it even sounded like a weak charge. I was like, that wasn't right.
Like, yeah.
And then, but it was hit.
Mm-hmm.
And then he, took off, and it's like 150 yards or whatever. I was just trying to get bullets into him.
Yeah.
And I hit him, but I hit him back.
Yep.
And So anyway, he goes down into the bottom of this big thick draw.
Yeah.
And we, give him a while, go down there, found pretty good blood in the grand scheme of things at first, and then made it down there, and we were looking for him, and
he made it into the creek bottom. He walked the creek for a minute, and then he popped up the other side, which was real thick.
Yeah,
like reprod.
It was reprod. Yeah. And so we were, and some of that, like literally on our hands and knees crawling through there, and I was really
no pistol.
I was gonna say I was really disappointed to realize I left my pistol in the truck.
And it's getting dark too.
Yeah, and we're crawling through this crap, and we make it through some of the thick stuff. I mean, it's still relatively thick, but not as bad. And we lose blood for a little bit.
Yeah.
And we're standing there, kind of turning around in circles.
There was an opening like the size of this room. There was like a little tiny opening.
Yeah. And we're like running around in circles trying to find next blood, trying to figure out what the heck this bear had done. And as we're standing there doing this, I caught a whiff of him, like plain as day. And I turned to you and I said, I can smell him. And you said, what? I said, I can smell him.
I can smell the bear.
And I looked over, and that bear was right on the other side of this big log.
We're standing maybe like 3 feet from this like big, like probably like a 3-foot diameter like ponderosa log that was laying down on the top end. So this bear is like kind of elevated above us.
Yep. And I look over, and that bear is laying on the other side of that log, but is fully alive.
Very, very much so alive.
Alive.
In fact, in all of this, like you turned and saw him, I see your like eyes and your facial expression change, and so I'm like, oh no, and I'm standing closer to the log than you are, and so I swing around as this bear is like coming back to life, and I shoot him with my muzzleloader from a point blank range, and it's like, like swinging.
It's like some out of the movies.
Right after I shot, you shot, and you hit him like basically base of the skull.
Yeah,
like
shut the lights out on that.
Done. Killed him.
Yeah, but goodness gracious, you want to talk about having to change my shorts, man?
Yeah.
That was, and like you said, he was a big
bear.
We'll put a picture out there one of these days about it.
Yeah. We'll put it in the video for you guys watching the video. We'll put a picture of it in the video because it was a really good bear.
Really good bear. Yeah. And so anyway, we were on cloud nine about that whole thing. We got that thing corded up and got him out of there.
Yeah.
Well, then I believe it was the next day.
Yeah.
We went into a completely different area we had hunted quite a bit before.
Yeah.
And long story short, ended up glassing up a bear, not a giant, but like a decent bear.
Yeah. Nice bear.
A couple miles from us, mile and a half, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a road that went that direction. But not right to it by any stretch of the imagination. But
kind of across we could get like kind of right across the canyon from it.
Yeah, but you couldn't get down there in a truck at the time.
No,
the snow was bad enough, and so
we
had a 4-wheeler that we had stashed up there in case we needed to get down there for something, and it just worked out. I ran over, hopped on the 4-wheeler, and Zach stayed where we could see the bear from.
Yeah,
stayed there and spotted for me. I think we had radios. If I remember correctly.
Yeah,
and so he stayed there and watched, and I bombed the 4-wheeler down as far down this road as I could get.
Yeah.
And we had hunted the area enough to know kind of where some shooting lanes were. It's really tough to find an area to shoot off of this ridge.
But there was a couple ledges that you could shoot off of.
Yeah, these big rim rock shelves that you could shoot off of. And so I knew what I thought the closest one was, and I parked the 4-wheeler and go bombing off this thing. And it's only a mile and a half as the crow flies or whatever, but it took me a long time to get down there in the grand scheme of things.
A long time. It takes a long time to get. The road kind of switchbacks and it.
Yeah, and it's a horrible road. And the snow, the drifts are 4 feet deep.
Yeah.
So
did you make it through the creek, or did you have to park at the creek and walk in?
I parked at the creek.
Yeah.
So I then, I bombed off of there from then and went to where I knew one of these rim rock shelves were. And I made it there, and I couldn't see the bear. But eventually he was, right there. I just couldn't see him behind some timber, and he popped back out into this, into this little opening, and it was like 380 yards or something like that. And
he's feeding a downhill or uphill?
Downhill towards me.
Yeah.
And he was just about to go out of sight, and I don't know that it was the best shot opportunity to take advantage of, but I thought I could make the shot, and so I actually shot that bear like from the top, essentially. Shot him right through the top of both shoulder blades.
Yep.
And it came out his chest and shut the lights out on him, and he went cartwheeling down the hill. And so we went and celebrated and went and, and went and grabbed him and had to pack him out. And thankfully that one wasn't too bad. We had to just get him down across the canyon up to the 4-wheeler.
Yep.
And we did have some pretty sketchy creek crossings, walking logs and all that kind of stuff.
We did,
a bunch of heavy packs, but
but
we had a good time and we made it out. So anyway, then our buddy was going to show up a couple days after this.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think we had 1 day to kill. Yeah. And the next day we kind of got camp in order and we went and did some laundry. When I say doing laundry, I mean went and dumped some soap on some clothes and cleaned them in the creek and hung them up and
once again, this was like one of those trips that we just had like a lot of time to just like have really good conversation and just like catch up. And it was once again, like it was one of those trips where we experienced like definite growth and just like it was a very good bonding time, if you will, for you and me. Like we were talking about good things, like staying up late, like around the fire, watching the stars, just having just great conversations about like real life, like what God and just like what we wanted to do and our goals and our aspirations and just really uplifting and like motivating each other. And it was one of those trips that was just special.
We were having the time of our lives. I'm getting to a point here, I promise, but it was a spectacular trip. Like I think that was one of my all-time favorite trips and always will be. We were having a great time. But so anyway, we kind of got camp back in order, blah, 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 blah. Well, then our other buddy shows up and at least to my knowledge, he is not a believer, correct?
He does not walk with the Lord.
Okay.
As I am aware.
Yeah. Okay. And so we hunted for another couple days and a few days actually, I think, and weren't having any luck. We were having a really tough time finding him a bear. Yeah. And we were having fun, but we weren't having any luck. I don't think we saw any bears.
I don't think
for a while. Yeah. And previously to that, we were seeing at least 1 or 2 a day. Yeah. And anyway, so I think this was on the 9th day. We decided, well, let's go back to where Zach shot that bear with the muzzleloader, the one that tried to eat us over the log. And we thought maybe there's another bear in there. Maybe bears eat other bears. I have no idea. So we thought, well, let's go give it a try. So we went in there but before we went, about to hike into this canyon, and one of us, I don't remember who, but one of us asked if we could pray over the hunt.
Because it's like one of the things that we had been talking about, right? Like me and Nick had been on like quite a journey between the two of us of like coming to the Lord and just like this crazy like transformational point in time in our lives. And our other friend, he had not gone through like, he was not on the same walk that we were, if you will.
At least not to my knowledge.
No. And we were kind of like amongst each other, like we were kind of like trying to, sometimes like the people that are closest to you are the ones that are like the most difficult to reach, like, and to have like those conversations with. And I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on. And we
had been talking about it.
A little bit, yeah. Well, he wasn't at camp, and we're going. I would love to be able to reach him in some way. So anyway, one of us, again, I don't remember who. One of us asked to pray over him, pray over the hunt, all these kinds of things, and he was kind of like, okay, whatever. And so we did, and there was anything crazy happened at that point. But then we go into this hunt, and we go back into the same draw. Yeah. And
almost exactly to where we had shot my bear from.
Yeah, right where you had shot from is where we set up. And again, it's mostly thick timber in there. There's just kind of one big meadow, and so there's not really a great way to hunt it, to be honest, other than just sitting watching that one meadow and hoping that something comes out in it. Yep. Or calling. And we had some luck calling previously in years past. not right there, but in some other areas. And so we thought, well, we'll go back in there and call. Well, so we set up right where we had shot the other bear from, and we turn on this call, and we were just going to call till dark, if I remember right.
Yeah.
It was a long time, like an hour and a half or 2 hours. So we sat there for
a while,
a long, long time. And I remember
called in a coyote.
Yeah, we did call in a coyote.
Yeah.
It was very tempting.
It was very tempting. He was like right there.
Yeah. But we called for a long time. And I remember I had prayed while we were sitting there, just, in my head to myself, that, I really wanted this, like, Lord, give us something here. Give us kind of, a cool experience. Reach our friend in some way. And at the end of the day, help us find a bear, right? Well, right after I had prayed this prayer, I remember like very clearly hearing this word from the Lord, not audibly, but like, thought, for lack of a better term. And he basically said, you don't need to worry about anything happening until 8:21. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I didn't really think, I felt like this was a very clear word, but I felt like a kook.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
Like,
yeah. You're questioning yourself immediately. You're like,
yeah,
that's weird.
Yeah, exactly. And admittedly, like, I didn't say anything about it to either one of you.
No.
Like, I wasn't like, hey, the Lord told me that at 8:21 we're going to kill a bear. Well, so after hearing this, I remember I pulled my phone out of my pocket and I set it on my thigh while I was sitting there. And I kept, tapping my phone and looking at the time, the whole time. And this was 45 minutes before this time that he had told me. Well, we're sitting there, and I'll be darned, 8:21, bear walks out at right where you had killed yours from, where yours had died.
Yeah.
Right where you had shot that sucker. All of a sudden, I see a bear walk out of the brush right there at 8:21. I am looking at my phone. 8:21, bear walks out, and I'm going, oh my gosh, and I lean over. There's a bear, and anyway, he was shooting a lever action 30-30, and really wanted to kill a bear with it.
He took his grandpa's. It was his grandpa's.
Yeah, and this bear was a little bit too far.
Yeah, it was a ways out there. It was like 300 yards out there. It was ways out in this meadow.
Yeah, but oddly enough, it was just feeding through the meadow. Had no interest whatsoever in the call, not at all. But there he was, 8:21. He comes walking out there, and he's just feeding along, eating grass and balsam root and everything else. And so we stayed there, and he went after him, and was. It's pretty wide open. Like, there was not a great.
There's like 50 yards of timber, and then there's nothing for the bear.
Yeah, and so it was really, really entertaining for us to watch. We both sat back and watched him put the sneak on this sucker.
Yeah,
and he made it out of the timber, out into this wide open, and there would be like a sporadic tree, every 40 yards or whatever it was. And he would hopscotch from one tree to the next. That bear would walk behind a tree for him, and he would make a move to the next tree, and then make a move to the next tree. And we kept thinking, there's no way this is going to work. This is going to go haywire eventually.
Yeah.
And the wind was swirling. And anyway, eventually, sure enough, we see him get 100 yards, 80 yards from this bear, whatever it was.
Getting pretty close now.
Yeah, we couldn't tell how far it was, but and all of a sudden, he pulls his gun up and he shoots this bear.
Yeah, he shoots it, and it takes off running like right at him, basically.
Yeah, and
it wasn't running at him, but it was running like in his direction. It just took off like the direction that it was running was basically right towards him.
Yep, and he kept shooting.
Oh yeah, he kept shooting.
He just was, letting her fly as he should be.
Yeah.
And long story short, that bear ended up going back into the same draw, where yours had died.
It died basically right in the bottom.
Right next to each other, dang near.
Yeah.
And
pretty close to him from like where he was standing. Like he shot like the final time, and it kind of like dipped out of sight.
Yeah. And actually, I remember he was letting out a war hauler.
Yeah, he let out a big.
And we were going, "Oh boy, you must have smoked him."
Yeah,
and
he was super jacked up.
Yeah. And sure enough, his first shot was great. He put a fantastic shot on that bear, and killed him dead. And he didn't go far, but it was a fantastic bear too.
Yeah,
really nice
big bear. Yeah,
it was odd. I'll never forget. He had a small head, but like a giant body.
Yeah.
Well, for our area at least.
Yeah.
He was
A 300-pound bear.
I was gonna say 350-pound spring bear.
Yeah.
With, the head of like 125-pound bear.
Yeah, he was kind of funny shaped.
Yeah, but a super nice bear.
Yeah.
And but it was a crazy experience for me. I think it was for all of us to some extent. But for me,
after after all that went on and like the bear popped out and then and then he went to go like stalk the bear, you came scurrying over to me and you were like, dude, like
yeah, I was pretty jacked up.
Super jacked up. Super, because we've been talking about this because like I had a couple stories like which I'll share in a while, but like we'd been kind of like talking about this like all week long, you know, like this just hearing the Lord's voice and him being like present in like our adventures and in our lives and just like giving us signs and just like kind of like miraculous stories, if you will, within like hunting.
Yeah.
And you come like scurrying over to me. You're like, dude, like the Lord told me that bear was going to come out at 8:21.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sure enough,
he did.
Pop.
And we had, again, I'll reiterate the fact, we had been there for 9 days.
Yeah.
9 days. And I mean, we were hunting, during that time of year, the days are long, right? We're hunting 15 hours a day, not killing nothing, trying, for him at least.
Yeah.
And, all of a sudden, like the Lord calls the minute, right? He called his shot, and it was like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. Well, it came to fruition.
It did.
100%. It came to fruition, and it was a crazy experience. So after the fact, I remember telling him and being like, "Hey, man, I know you're gonna think I'm crazy, but like the Lord told me that was gonna happen." Like he called the minute, and kind of told the whole story we're telling you guys, and I don't know. I never really did fully understand how he felt about that.
I don't know. To be honest.
I don't know. And I guess it doesn't matter.
No.
But it was hopefully eye-opening in some way.
Hopefully.
Yeah. But it was very cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. And obviously that's more impactful to me than anybody, right? Yeah. Because of the fact that I was the one that was like thinking I'm crazy, thinking the Lord's telling me that this is going to happen, and it does. But
sure,
it was like, man, that is just another instance of like the Lord speaking to us,
for
right?
sure,
and just
and
being
like the Lord's fingerprints, like in our lives, as outdoorsmen, like because there's not like as like an avid outdoorsman, there's nothing that really means as much to you as like those moments, right? Like the struggles and the pursuits of chasing around like the game in the woods, and that's just an awesome story. I had forgot about that actually. We were talking about it last night, and I had totally forgot about that whole part of the story. And
and it was cool. We had an opportunity to pray over him again. And
after we killed the bear, like I remember we got it all like propped up on the log, and we said a prayer and like closed it out, and it was just like the perfect cap on just like another
fantastic
epic adventure and week. And man, it was just super, super cool.
Yeah. I remember that was such a cool reset for me.
Yeah.
Personally, I the line of work that I'm in, right, in agriculture, the spring is, berserk. It's crazy. And I felt so guilty that I had taken a week off of work. I left on a Friday, right, and weren't coming back till the following Sunday.
Yeah.
And I remember going, gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. I should not be leaving now. But I mean, like you just said, the Lord's fingerprints were all over that whole trip, and it was such a cool reset for me to come back to work and all the people that I get to be around on a daily basis and just have a kind of like a new outlook on everything.
Sure.
It was pretty easy to get sucked down into the kind of the mundane, everyday routine of life. But that was a fantastic experience for me. Yep. And I think that lesson is true for a lot of us as outdoorsmen, kind of like you were just 100%. Talking about, right? Like I know that I wouldn't be who I am on a daily basis without those kinds of experiences and being able to
escape and recharge.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly. Those are,
you're better when you come back.
Oh, 110%. And I think that's another thing about my wife, is that she realizes that.
Yeah.
You know, she sees that in me, and she's been supportive in everything, every aspect of our lives, but especially hunting, which was something that I was horrified of. Like, I know I have so many people in my life, you know, that don't get to go do the things that they want to do, which sounds selfish, but you know, can't go recharge and have a good reset and, you know, enjoy these kinds of experiences. But you know, Emma continues to be supportive in all those things, and be able to, you know, allow me to go do some of those things. And
she's kind of got a little bit of a killer streak in her.
yeah. She
had kind of an epic year last year.
Yeah, she'd never hunted a day in her life.
No.
And she said, I want to shoot something. So I said, okay. So she killed 3 deer and an elk last year.
Yeah.
And
she had a great year.
Yeah, she's humble about it, but man, she did a great job.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. So anyway, I think part of those experiences helps her understand what it means to us, right? Yeah. And she's even said this, like, it doesn't mean the same to her as it does to us, not at all. I mean, this is just a newfound hobby for her, right? Yeah. For us, it's a, you know, the one passion we've had our entire lives. But yeah, and that's not, you know, I don't think that we can expect out of our wives to just allow you to go do anything you want whenever, right? But it's like my mom used to always say, is she would say, I've never had any problem with your father going on these trips and, you know, leaving for a couple weeks at a time to go hunt Alaska or, you know, wherever the location is, because he's present when he's here. Yeah. Right. And
I think that is the key part right there.
Yeah. He's present when he's here, and like he, you know, does his duties as a husband and father. Yeah. And I think that was very good for me to see as a kid. Sure. And, you know, even now, he's still the same way he was then. For sure. You know, as I'm a new husband and soon to be new father and all these kinds of things, right? I look at a lot of that and go, and it worked because of a lot of the things that he did, and a lot of the things that that my mom was.
He set a good example.
Yeah, absolutely. My mom did too. Sure. So yeah, I was fortunate in that way. Yeah, but
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good. That's a good story, man. That.
Yeah, we've got, like I said, we've got 100 different ones. Yeah, but those are a couple
for the next 5 hours.
Those are a couple for in the last few years that really, you know, were stuck out. You know, like I said, we've got some more that we'll share. Yeah, for sure. But
yeah, we'll probably kind of continue to share some of them too as we go, just because we seem to have a lot of experiences, like you and me together in the outdoors, just with kind of like moments where God showed up, and it's just it's cool. It's fun to talk about them. It's fun to relive them, and hopefully it's fun for you guys listening. But thank you for sharing your story, and hopefully somebody out there can relate to it, and you know, it doesn't matter what you did. It only matters what you do now and where you go from here, and no matter what stage of life you are, you know, if you put the Lord first and you seek the Lord first. What did you say? You wrote on your outline.
I wrote.
What was your ending?
Yeah, something that's kind of been highlighted to me recently has been to don't pursue happiness, pursue Christ. Yeah. And I think that people often think of those as one and the same. Sure. And they're not always. No. Right? You know, Paul talks about this in a variety of different places, but the one that comes to mind is in Philippians 4. I believe it's 4:10 is kind of where he starts talking about this. He's writing from prison, right? And he dies shortly after this, right? He's killed. And he writes that in plenty in how does he say this? I think it's in plenty and in hunger, and, you know, in abundance, and, you know, whatever thing he is in at that time, to be content. Yeah. And it's so easy to find ourselves to be unhappy in those times of needs, right? In those times of need, right? But for sure. But to learn to be content and just wholly and wholeheartedly satisfied
and pursue Christ.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
and find your happiness in pursuing Christ.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, so often nowadays you hear, "Oh, you just got to do what makes you happy."
Yeah.
No, because
yeah.
when I was 18 years old, drinking and partying and doing all that kind of stuff, I would have considered myself happy. But was I pursuing Christ?
No,
not at all. So
no.
Anyway, something.
Would it make us happy to go shoot a whole bunch of ducks in the morning?
It would do that.
It would.
It would make.
Would it be good for us to put that above going to church and seeking the Lord?
No.
Would not.
Long-term ramifications versus short-term fun.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Everybody.
Yep.
We'll catch you on the next one.
Indeed.
Hopefully that thing's still recording.
Can you imagine?
Oh, we're good. It's still going. We forgot to pray at the end of the last episode, so here we are. Well,
yeah,
it was a good story.
Yeah, I hope so. Hope people like some of it at least.
I think they will. I think there's plenty of people that should be able to find that relatable. So
we've got a lot of stories to come.
We do.
That's a fact.
For sure. In the interest of sticking with our protocol, you want to end this thing out in a prayer?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
I'd love to.
All right. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day that you've given us. Thank you for giving us some form of a platform to be able to reach out to others and to be able to spread your word and your gospel, Lord. I pray that whoever is listening to this, that may be able to gain something from it, that you would just lay your hands on their heart, Lord. I pray that this would all be for your glory, and that you would continue to bless us and everyone around us. We love you, and it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. That's a wrap on this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Indeed. Have a good one.